you want to shrink that down a little bit, I think item E and item F you have up for your vote at this particular point in time with the PCERS payment and the cyber charter school payments. Those are kind of the primary things that are out there. Other things that could be requested to be done, actually one of them we're hoping you vote for in favor of, is the district has for years been involved in a very intense HVAC upgrade where actually we control the heat, we control the lights, there's light sensors and all those things. They've been in play probably 13, 14 years now, and we need to have an upgrade on that. So those are the systems that we're really looking at to continue and to continue to make better. Outside of that, we would do, I've done this actually 2 times already in my 16 and a half years. If you want to have suggestions, my recommendation from the administration, we can put out on our website recommendations to be provided by the community, recommendations to be provided by the teaching staff, by the classified staff, as well as the recommendations that would come from the administration. We would collect all those and give those to you.
And then do you think that if we wait till the next meeting until we have had time to process the information and possibly see more documentation or hear from the solicitor, do you think that is that time sensitive that we couldn't wait?
Well, you're asking an opinion.
Yes.
First of all, there's not going to be any more documentation other than what you just said.
But it could at least be put out to the public if the board so chooses.
If the board so chooses, it can be, obviously. That was a specific question too. Attorney Ward at our solicitor firm, was this something that is required by law we put out to the public? And the answer is no. This do not have to be put out. You can vote to act on this whenever you want. It's going to take upwards of a month after you approve it or reject it. But if you approve it, it's going to take upwards of a month. If you wait till January, it will take you into February before we will be able to receive any money. That will be getting close. That will be getting close.
Thank you, Mr.
So the possibility is there you would not meet payroll, correct?
It's a possibility, yes.
I don't think that's fair to our people to expect them to have to wait if it gets to that place.
We also could have a passed budget by then.
The $2,500, Dan, which is paid at closing. At this particular point, it would be January 7th or an agreed upon date, which is after that. So the board wouldn't be out of, or the district would only be, in this particular case, out of $2,500, not $32,000 or some other number. And in addition to that, it wouldn't come into play until January 7th at the earliest.
It would come into play at the actual closing itself.
So in the event we do have a budget before that time, that wouldn't, your approval tonight wouldn't make that payment.
On the 5th, which is our first meeting, even though that's not a voting meeting, we could choose to not do this if we have a passed budget. Is that correct?
No, your approval tonight simply gives us permission to move forward to set a date. If the date's January 7th and the budget's been passed, you won't be borrowing any money. That's the process. The money's going to be paid back with the state money, so if the state already gives us the money, there's no need to borrow.
Immediately after your vote here, we'll sign the documents. The solicitor will send them to the DCED. That takes up to 2 weeks. It does not take a full month, at least until those 2 weeks are up. Within the next 2 weeks, there may be a budget in place, and then all this will be unnecessary.
Beth, first of all, thanks a lot for putting a lot of thought and coming up with those questions. They're excellent questions. It's really an embarrassment to everyone in this room that we have to even be talking about this. If Governor Wolf and the senators in the House would be doing their job, we wouldn't have wasted 20 minutes discussing this. I don't know about you, but every time I look at my paycheck, I have state withholdings. Every time I go out and buy something, I'm still paying 6% sales tax. What are they doing with our money that really belongs to us and the school districts in the state? So again, it's a real embarrassment that our state government has failed us all. I support this measure. I think, I do a lot in financing and loans. And just to tell you how simple this deal is, no bank lets your attorney write up the documents. So if the bank allows your attorney to write up the loan documents, it's a very simple deal. So this is a very straightforward transaction. It's very simple. They're going to allow us to borrow $13 million because they know someday the state will do their job and release the money that you and I are sending them on a regular basis. And so they're very comfortable in making a loan with literally 4 or 5 pages. Every closing I've gone to, we kill a lot of trees to get a loan done. This is 4 or 5 pages.
That's why you could see, like, when I only saw 4 to 5
Yeah.
pages, didn't seem right.
Yeah, and it is. So the whole collateral of this loan is that the state's going to give us money someday. And when the state gives us money someday, we pay it back. I hope we don't have to use it. I hope the senators and the governor finally realize they have a job to do. But if they don't and keep playing around with the county and the school districts, then we need this to be in place. The part that I didn't realize tonight, and Dan, thank you for explaining this, is that it's just not us signing a piece of paper with Fulton Bank and they're willing to give us money. There's other state agencies, of course, that have to get involved in our business, and that takes time. So that's why we really need to approve this tonight, just in case this doesn't happen. The cost is $2,500 if we get to the cliff and fall off. I've been to the Grand Canyon, and I don't like to get real close, because I'm one of those people that I'm afraid I'm gonna fall off. So let's stay behind the rail and have this as prevention. The documents that our attorney already drew up, we're paying for those. And I'm sure it's not that much money, because these are standard forms. He's done it probably 100 times. He just whips them out, and hopefully he doesn't charge us from scratch. So we have that faith and trust. And I'm curious to see Glenn, when we do get the bill, to make sure that we're reasonably charged a fair rate for the documentation of this thing. So I think, I don't know why. I guess it's been our policy. If we need to change our policy to put these things on here to make the public feel more comfortable, that they have more input into that, I'm totally fine with that. But that just hasn't been the way we've done business in the past. So that the board can change. But I really don't think we have a choice. That, you know, we would be doing the service to the community by not approving this tonight.
Beth or anyone else have any additional comments?
By the way, I cut coupons and I don't like to pay interest on anything, so I hope we don't have to use this.
For me, I really, like, we're discussing this now, and I really appreciate that, but I wish that I had more information before 7:50 tonight about this. And so I still am feeling not very comfortable until because we didn't even hear back from the solicitor yet, so. That's it. Thank you.
I'd like to say that when I came in tonight, I originally thought that I really wanted to wait one more month because I'm trying to be optimistic that the budget will get passed and we won't have to use this at all. But when I look at it and think about it to myself, I agree with what Steve said. If there is a threat of not making payroll, I don't think that would be fair to our staff at all. And it sounds like, according to Mr. Heckman, that we could not have, if we wait until the next month to use this, we might not make the February deadline for payroll. So that has me thinking a lot, because I don't want to see our staff not being paid. And once again, if I'm gathering this right, this might not have to be used at all. So I did want to wait one more month, hoping that the budget will be passed, but with the threat of not being able to pay our people, that has me thinking also.
Everybody seems to make some good points here. I too, Nate, came with the idea of moving, or at least having another month to contemplate this whole scenario. But certainly, Dan gave some very informative and also very, took some of my concerns. My main concerns were it was a good deal, whether the hidden costs, you know, the fact that they're not going to ask for collateral, that it spites me to no end to think that we might spend $2,500, although in a $30 million plus budget, that's really nothing, but it is a lot of money, at least to me, and it despites me that we could pay that, and then 2 days later, the senators and the House and the governor finally get together and pass this thing, and we've spent that. But, you know, it's kind of like buying insurance. The more I'm thinking about this, like you buy insurance, and you hope you never have to use it, but if you do have to use it, at least you invested in it. So I, at this point, am kind of leaning towards going forward. Any other discussion? If not, roll call?
Blum,
Yes.
Murray, no. England,
Yes.
Heckman,
No.
Snell,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Wexler,
Yes.
Hamp,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
Thank you for everyone for their input and also the variety of it's always nice to me to see that it's not a slam dunk that everybody votes all the same way. We're not all lemmings out here just kind of doing what everybody else does. We have varying opinions and we vote with our conscience. So thank you for everyone for stepping up to the plate and voting the way that they truly feel.
I move item D.
Discussion? I'll just weigh in really quick that in my years of being on the board, and I'm a relative newcomer to some of you that have been here a lot longer than I have, but I certainly have gleaned from those years on the board that this is kind of one of those things that the budget changes so much from today until we actually vote on it at the end. But to have the option of the exceptions is a really prudent thing to do. It just keeps our options open. Last year we had that option, and we voted on it in December, and then when we got to the final budget, we decided not to use them. But if something had happened that would have made us, if we needed those exceptions, if we had voted against it, that option would have been closed. So I would, again, recommend voting for this. Any other conversation? Not roll call? Oh,
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Amy, first of all, congratulations on overseeing the management committee that's in charge of putting together the budget. Back in May, the Patriot News quoted you in an article that you felt Northern Lebanon was financially unstable. I'm just curious on your thoughts on why you think we're financially unstable, and we're projecting at the end of the school year to have a $1.9 million ending fund balance, and what would make you change your opinion that we're not financially unstable and that we are financially stable?
Sure, I think I would have to look back at the context of my comment, but I would imagine that it was probably in reference of all the cuts that have occurred over the last several years.
And so that's the past and this is now. So are we financially unstable or are we financially stable?
I think we still have lots that we need to look at. We certainly when we looked at the proposals that were on our places last week, we are looking at the need to add some staff members. I think we absolutely need that. I think we have to look to see if we have that available, if it's even an option. So I think our bond ratings are still need to improve as well.
The last time we had the bond company come in, we got an uptick in ratings, so do you still think there's possibilities to continue to improve, and what would that,
Absolutely.
and what would that take to move to the next rating?
That would certainly, I am new to all this, and you know that budgeting is not my area of expertise, so I can't answer that. I'm sure you can.
I'm not a bond guy, so I think
What's
our
the
bond
purpose of the
rating,
question in relation to what's on the agenda?
we're discussing the budget.
What does that have to do with my personal thoughts? I answer your question if there's anything else in relation to this, the preliminary budget that's on the agenda, we can discuss that. This isn't about my thoughts on how to improve the budget rating or the bond rating.
I think it's important that all board members have input, and you being chairperson of the management committee, that, I mean, we just got criticized by 2 members of the community for not being transparent and not having involved. I mean, I'm hoping that through this budget process that we do it a little bit differently this year, since the public really wants input, and that we have budget workshops that the public can come in
Absolutely.
and come in and say, these are the things that we think that we could save money, whatever they be. And so I think your opinion matters on how we can save money. All 9 of us opinions matter. The people that are in the audience opinions matter. And the 85-year-old lady who's struggling to pay her real estate opinions matter. I think all stakeholders' opinions matter.
I absolutely agree, and I would have a professional conversation, but you and I both well know that what you're doing right now is not in relation to the agenda item. And I will halt your conversation right now.
I beg to differ with you, that we're discussing the budget, and we're discussing if we need to raise taxes to the SALT, which is the bare minimum, or if tonight we are going to decide to have the option to continue that, to be open beyond the SALT. So I do think my conversations and questions are one for myself to get better to know where your head is and where we're going to go in this long journey. You've been on the board a long time, and you know this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon to get the budget done. And this is the first time that we've discussed this process. And I don't think any of my questions have been out of line tonight, and I apologize if you're taking them personally.
Sure, in relation to this, I absolutely think that we need to move forward with the agenda item as it is listed. In the past, we have had to use the exceptions. As you stated, I do think that our budget has improved. We are in a much better state than we were in 2 years ago. So hopefully we won't need the exceptions this year. But in reference to this, my personal opinion is that I will support this because I think that we need that open door possibility in the event.
And one other question. In the budget, is there any dollar amounts allotted for, since we don't have a teacher's contract, do we have any money allotted to settle our lack of contract?
You weren't here last week. We discussed that and it is not.
You're correct, I was not here last week, thank you.
Yeah. Answer to your question. It was discussed last week.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? If not, roll call.
Murray,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
South,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
all in favor.
I would like to move item E.
Second?
Discussion?
Discussion?
Dr. Bell, I believe there was an email sent out by the solicitor in regards to if we would opt not to pay the PZERS. And I'm not to put you on the spot, but you read the email too, and I was just wondering, you know more about PZERS than I do. And so the solicitor, could you comment to what he had said about that?
The PCERS and cyber school payments, actually Glenn asked the question to the solicitor and supplied a response to Glenn, and I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but he didn't say he supported or denied which way we should do. He just listed a variety of things that he discussed in previous sessions for us about what may or may not happen. In conjunction with that, and this was probably before, I'm sure it was before you were on the board, that there was also a letter that was provided by legal counsel for Pennsylvania School Boards Association recommending doing this. So ultimately what it ends up happening is you've received legal advice from multiple places, and it would end up being your decision on whether you want to pay it or not.
And so I just want to verify, I don't have the document in front of me, unfortunately, but if we, I don't know if it's the law or just how it's written, but our payment is due 5 days after, is that, okay. 5 days after we receive payment from the state, is that correct? Do you recall that?
That is correct.
Okay, and so there is a deadline for the payment, but it also says you have 5 days to make the payment after you receive payment from the state, which we have not received, correct? And so PZERS is saying they would give us potentially a 6% penalty for not paying. However, the statement is your bill is due 5 days after you receive payment. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sure I read that, but I'm not a PZERS pro, so.
Tentatively, it's due on the 23rd of December.
Okay. And then also with the cyber schools, it looked like the payments are due monthly. And there was a court case, I believe, and it was ruled that the only penalty for not making the payment at this point would be that your money could be withheld in the future.
Could be withheld from subsequent payments from the state.
And you would still have to pay, like, that would be withholding the state's part of the money to the cyber schools.
The state would withhold money that is due us equal to the amount that should have been paid to the charter school.
Okay. So potentially we would still make our portion of the payment, but hold back. That's what some other districts have done, is that, do you know, correct?
Some are not making their charter school payments, that is correct.
In full or as a percentage?
That I can't tell you, I would assume some are withholding it in its entirety. But what they're all doing that.
Okay, just to clarify that we are talking about the PZERS pension, the second one.
Yes, it just kind of,
Sorry, just to clarify
Yes.
that we're not getting this.
that's correct, yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Heckman, would withholding the PZERS payment have any effect at all on retirement of our employees?
I have not heard that said at all, that it has any effect on the retirees.
The employee is going to continue to make the payment. It's just the employer that doesn't make the payment. You can't control, in other words, this board can't say that the teachers don't have to make their payments. That any public school employee has to make their 6.5%, 7.5%, or 10%, or 12%, whichever one they're in. They have to make their payment individually. That's taken out. It's the employer part that is discussed.
And from what I can glean, and I'm not an accountant, but it's basically saying here that we can hold up to 50% of the fee. Is that just our contribution then?
PZERS is saying that we are allowed to withhold 50% of the full amount that would normally be due. We'd only have to pay half of what would normally be due.
Without fear of any penalty.
That's correct.
But is that their half that they're supposed to be sending us?
Whether it's their half or our half, it doesn't matter.
Right, but, okay.
They send us our half, and then 5 days later, we're supposed to send them the entire 100%.
Okay.
That second half then that we would not pay them if we pass this resolution.
The resolution states,
It's no payment.
Okay.
we're not paying anything.
And if we did that, we would be setting ourselves up for possibility, according to the solicitor.
They are basically threatened us that there may be a 6% penalty.
And I'll get back to you in a second, but I just want to make clarification, that's the school district solicitor, not the solicitor for the Pennsylvania School Boards Association.
I guess I really have trouble with this, okay? Maybe it's because of the way this Pennsylvania Dutch in me and the way I was raised, okay? I own 1 credit card to my name. I never paid a drop of interest on it because we were taught that, all right? And here we are discussing whether or not we're gonna make payments when we know we're gonna have to pay it. And if they stick 6% on us, which they could, to me, you talk about wasted money. Why don't we just pay our bills like we always have? I just think it's, yeah, okay. We're hoping that the legislature passes our budget by January, and here we are talking about withholding funds. I just think we should just bite the bullet and pay our bills and not incur interest from anybody. Whether it's cyber charter, which, I'm not a cyber charter person, I'm all public schools, but hey, I just think, in good conscience, I think we should pay the bills.
Glenn, did you get a chance to contact the PSBA to see how many people are kind of following their lead, or the possibility of doing it at these stage?
I did not. I just looked at the solicitor's recommendations or his options that he put forth. Roll call?
England,
No.
Heffernan,
No.
Bell,
No.
Gray,
No.
Bixler,
No.
Hauk,
No.
Erdman,
No.
Lund,
Yes.
Murray.
No.
No, 1 yes.
And finally, item F.
Discussion? Roll call?
Heffernan,
No.
Sal,
No.
Gray,
No.
Bixler,
No.
Hauk,
Yes.
Erdman,
No.
Lund,
Yes.
Murray,
No.
England. No, 2 yes, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Director Bissell. And moving on to Programs Committee. Director Ingram.
Move item A.
Discussion? Roll call?
Bell,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes.
Hauk,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Heffernan.
Yes.
All in favor.
I move item B.
Discussion? Roll call?
Bixler,
Yes.
Hauk,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Lum,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
All in favor.
Item C,
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Hauk,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Lum,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
England,
yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler.
Yes.
All in favor.
Anything else from the programs? Okay. Property and Service Committee, Director Bixler.
I move item A.
Second it?
Discussion?
Yeah, we have other sports programs, that use the facilities for banquets, and I don't ever recall seeing this as an agenda item in the past, so is it because the football team had such a great season, they need approval for a banquet, or,
The actual request was made, if you see at the end there, it was Sunday. Actually, it's in December 6th. It was last Sunday. So I don't know. I, like you, wasn't here at the last meeting, so I don't know if you guys discussed it or not.
I think it was around December 6th. So it's on the agenda because it's a Sunday versus if it was a Saturday or Friday, we wouldn't be talking or wouldn't be voting.
That's
on it?
correct, and this was on last year as well. This was a vote that was brought to the board as well last year because it was a Sunday.
Did you go afterwards or before?
Nope, you voted before, and it was 7-2 vote.
We did talk about it before, at least.
If I recall the paperwork on it, it had to do with conflicts with other things going on, the time of year that forced him to go to a Sunday as opposed to another day of the week. Extenuating circumstances.
Well, I support, the taxpayers own the building. Despite my deep Christian values, I do not have a problem with using our schools on the Sunday. And Nate, you spoke so elegantly about wanting to expand the use of our schools and being able to do more on the Sunday in our buildings. And I hope we can work together to accomplish that. And so I strongly support that. And I think we should ask our solicitors, because I remember many years ago when I went to my first new board meeting thing down at the IU, and this question came up, and it was a long time ago, but my memory is that if anybody would ever challenge us to this, that we would lose, that we just can't pick and choose, that we want to keep the Sunday a holy day or a family day.
I'm sure I remember discussing this last week, and it is on the agenda from last week. Am I making this up? Does anyone remember this?
I don't remember discussing it. It might have been on the,
It was on the meeting, it was in the notes, but we.
yeah, we didn't
Oh,
discuss it.
that's- okay.
Any more discussion? Not? Roll call?
Erdman,
Yes.
Lum,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
England,
No.
Heckman,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes.
Hauk.
Yes.
1 yes, 8 yes, 1 no.
I move item B.
Second?
Discussion? Do we have the people from the Rotary? Would you like to make a comment at this time?
Well, we're requesting that Jonestown Elementary be used as a polling location for Jonestown. We're in need of a polling location, and my name is Lori Oliver, I'm the Director of Elections. And I also have Joellen Sloan, my Deputy Clerk, who's been with elections for about 20 years. So the election code dictates that we use facilities that are paid for by tax dollars, and schools are predominantly the first choice that we turn to. We only have 2 machines. We have approximately 900 voters. We've never had any security issue at any polling place. And I verify with Joellen, because she's been with the county for so long, she can't remember of any security issues. So I'm hopeful that the school will approve this and that we can have them a primary at Jonestown. We only have 2 machines. As I said, it's not a big polling area. And I'm not opposed to, I'm not from this area, so I'm not familiar with high school events. If you have any off-duty police officers you might have for different events, I'm not sure if there's security issues, but I'm not opposed to having, an off-duty officer there and paying for them for the day to be there for the voting. But I will stress that we have no security issues. So I'm hopeful that we can use your facility. Do you have any questions for me?
I do have a question. Are there other schools in the area that have voting taking place in their schools?
There isn't right now. There were 2, and when I first started, I wasn't familiar with the election code and the election laws. As I'm more familiar, I've been there a couple years, and they did ask us to move for security. I just thought, well, okay, I guess that maybe that's a trending thing. But after attending my conferences and realizing if I had known the law a little better, I would have tried to talk them into letting us stay at the schools, because obviously they're very accessible for handicapped people. A lot of the schools, in fact, the staff were disappointed that we moved out because they held bake sales and things like that. So for them, they were able to do a little bit of fundraising that day. So we don't right now.
So when it was happening in the school, was it happening on a day when students were in the building?
A lot of schools do an in-service day election. It does change during presidential. In presidential, it's in April, the primary. The November election is always the same, but normally it's the 3rd week, I guess, in May, about the 3rd week. And I would ask those of you on the board that just ran, did you feel there were any security issues when you went to vote?
I didn't feel like there were any security issues at all at the polling location, but my concern would be, and I guess I would ask the administration how you would feel. My concern would be for the students. There weren't children at the polling locations. Not a lot of children. That's a lot of children. So I guess I would ask, I would like to hear from the administration how you would feel about multiple people coming in the building. I'm just asking for information.
Right. And the location of where the machines. Now, I haven't been in Jonestown Elementary, so I'm not sure. Like here, you're quick to this room from the front door, so individuals wouldn't be walking around the school.
It's a little different in Jonestown.
Okay, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing before the administration can give any type of recommendation or yay or nay, we'd have to look at the setup, see what's there, ask you as a board. You control the calendar. If you don't want them in school, then you don't have school that day. So, and then I'll go back to the professional development committee and say, you as a board don't want them to have school that day for the elections. But in my opinion, anytime you open up the building to anything, it's going to add increased stress for every classroom teacher as well as administrator.
Where do you currently have the Jonestown voting at?
Well, it was at the Perseverance Fire, which is right across the street from the elementary, which was another key reason it's right across the street. So the voters would be literally, voting across the street instead of a whole new location.
And what is it working at the fire company?
I'm not sure. I have my notes back at the office, but we had notification from the firehouse that they weren't going to be able to accommodate us anymore.
And I'm not a Jonestown, live in the borough, but I vote at my township building Is that an option?
I don't think that Jonestown actually has a.
No, you're a
township
borough,
building.
so you don't have a township building because you're
I mean, a borough building?
Jonestown's a borough.
Right,
So
but
we
a
have to
borough-
keep the people in the borough. We can't go outside.
Right.
There is a borough building. I believe they talked at the last meeting, and I don't know if you've been to the borough meeting, but it is quite small.
Yeah.
And so, and also the parking is almost non-existent. And so those were, I believe, some of the things that they had talked about at the last meeting would be the size of the building and the parking situation.
Yeah, I just really feel uncomfortable about this, especially with recent history of terrorism. I work for a hospital company. We have a hospital in San Bernardino, California. The terrorist that killed 14 people was our kitchen and pool inspector. So to say it can't happen and can't hit at home isn't realistic.
Well,
And
it can happen anywhere.
Anywhere,
Yeah.
anytime.
It can.
Right
So
now.
why should we invite strangers into our building? I mean, if you go to the Giant Center now, you either get wand down or you go through airport security. I mean, I just don't think.
Well, it would be the taxpayers for that community.
Yeah, it would be strangers.
But our job as a board isn't, our primary purpose isn't to make sure that the voting process in this country continues. It's to protect and educate our children. And I just think that we're opening ourselves up for exposure when we really don't need to.
Well, of course, I have a different view, but.
Be an education for the children also, seeing the voting process.
My take on this is, you know, I say I teach in the school, and even to get volunteers today, the background checks, there's so many different things, and I would think that if we do vote to approve this, a vote to approve would be an automatic vote to also approve the, and I know we can't change this at this point, but if you're going to vote for this, you would have to vote down the road or somehow to change it that it's an in-service day. There's just too much that could go wrong in school with children. Yeah, it's just in today's environment, there's just no way that could happen. So if you do vote yes, I'm assuming you're also voting that you're going to give an in-service day. That's the only plausible way that this would work.
I would love to see this happen, but knowing Jonestown School, the building itself, it'd be nice if we had a wing that we could give over to the polling place. We don't have that. Our all-purpose room is used for lunch, it's used for all of our activities and that. So I strongly recommend checking out the Borough building. I know Beth says it's small, but I know the Borough you all normally use, and I think their new conference room could be used for
Where's this at the?
Jonestown Borough building.
Borough.
Yeah, it's a new building, nice building.
Well, it's
And that's
funny
where I've
because
been-
they called me and asked what are we gonna do, so.
And I would love to see it happen, but I just don't know how Jonestown, and I may be wrong, but I just think it'd be, unless we were with our students in the building, we don't have a wing that we could just turn over and let you use as much as you'd like to use. Great, I don't personally think we have.
There's some great churches in the borough too, and
You can't use a church.
There is, I'm just, as I mentioned, the election code says that we should be able to use the schools. They're paid with taxpayers' monies. Schools do schedule in-service days. I don't know. I don't know
I'm not
if
saying
the
that
board-
you can't use a church, right? You can use a church, right?
We
You
do,
can.
and I get
Yeah.
complaints about that too, because we're using a church.
Right,
But
we
there's
do
other
have three
facilities.
really great big churches though in Jonestown. Some of them have really good parking.
I'm aware.
Okay. Sorry, I was referring to the person behind you because maybe you could.
That's Rob.
Can I ask the administration, Don, or one of the principal, is that a feasibility of having an in-service day on that? Because we've already voted on our
You
calendar.
approved, you
so
approved your calendar. If you're gonna change your calendar, then you're gonna need to make sure everybody's aware of that change. So I don't know how, I know we don't have that yeah, in April.
Well, it's April
Yeah.
26th, this
Yeah.
primary election.
But, I'm sorry, Mark.
I have a question. You said Jonestown Borough contacted you where you're gonna hold it?
Yes.
And they never told you they have a building?
Well, they didn't offer their building,
Okay,
but
all right.
what I've heard from one of your other members is the parking is a problem. So, I mean, potentially, if you have 900 voters on presidential election, we need parking. So, if, no matter what they might have inside, if there's nowhere to park, it's not an
I
option.
understand, but I just,
Yeah.
okay.
Welcome to our world.
All right, any other discussion?
I want to say that I agree with what has been said here. I do think that it's just too complicated with our calendar, with the safety of our kids, and with the structure of Jonestown. If there was a place that we could lock a door and have it locked so that people couldn't go past that, that'd be one thing, but we really don't have that in Jonestown.
I would throw it out as something the future maybe to possibly look at, either through programs or property and service. The possibility of opening this up in future years, but at this point, we're already into our school year. To have another in-service that we hadn't already figured on, I don't think that there's a practicality there, and I just can't see this happening without that. Okay, roll call?
Lund,
No.
Murray,
No.
England,
No.
Heckman,
No.
Bell,
No.
Gray,
No?
Bixler,
No.
Howe,
No.
Erdman.
No.
No. 9 no's. Holland, no.
Okay, I move item C.
Second?
Discussion?
Okay, so we're at the turnkey building, is that? Okay. I just didn't really see receiving any information other than that letter from, I could just,
What would you like to know?
I guess, just since we're voting for this $13 million Tran, I'm just wondering,
307,000.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, for training, I'm sorry. It's
Okay,
307.
then I was just wondering, like, if we're at a point where we can pay $307,000, and then when you would be looking to do this, or when you need to do it by?
The actual payment would come through the bond payment, which we borrowed. This was discussed in the Property and Service Committee in 2013. This would be finally drawing down all the bond money that was borrowed back then.
Roll call?
Murray,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Sell,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes?
Bixler,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Lund.
Yes.
All in favor.
I move item D.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
England,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Sell, Gray,
Yes?
Bixler,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Erdman,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
All in favor.
I also want to mention, since we have a new property and service committee, we are going to look at putting up some kind of fence in left field so that poor man's garage door isn't dinked anymore. So, I have asked Dr. Bell, and he has given us a bid of what it would cost us. So I will discuss that with the board probably next committee meeting, okay? Yeah, we probably should.
When can we meet, when?
Or the 6 o'clock on
Yeah,
the
but
first?
then we have something, 6 o'clock.
Yep.
I'd really like to get this done before the first baseball flies out in the left field.
But next Tuesday, since we have those